Howdy, yeah. Today is October 20th and I really need to get in the beehives, so that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to check the supers. If they're empty, I will obviously take them off. If there's honey in them, I will either take the honey or leave it for them depending on what their hive situation looks like and where they've put most of their stores. So anyways, let's get to it. The hard part about not being in the beehives very often is that the propolis, which is basically super glue, the bees have super glued those tops down really tight, so even though the sun's on them, it's not warmed up enough to the point where I can crack that seal and get it open. So I'm gonna have to wait till later today to see if I can pry them off. Well, y'all, the sun's been on the hive most of the day. It just got in the shade and I still cannot crack that seal on the top. They have it shut really good and tight, so at this point I guess I'm just gonna leave it on there for the winter and see what happens. So if it's just an empty super up there, it's just kind of a waste of space, but maybe it's full. The hive is pretty heavy. It's got quite a few boxes on there. So anyways, I guess we'll leave until spring. Howdy, yeah. Today is October 21st. I went through the first section of tomatoes here and I picked up all the gross red tomatoes. I'd say, maybe 2% were edible. And I did try a few, but they weren't very tasty. You could definitely tell they've been hit by some frost and they just aren't in their peak anymore. So I've just been picking bucketfuls and bringing them out to the chickens. So far I've gotten 10.5 gallons of just junky tomatoes. I'm leaving the green tomatoes behind because those aren't great for chickens, but they've been enjoying them. So I've been doing that. I've been here all day, but I actually forgot my phone, so I just got it. So there's been a lot going on, so let me update you. Another project that was done was getting this chicken coop here all plasticed up. It's a really good feeling to have done. Just some minor things left to do on these posts here. Put a little bit more foam around that, just those top two posts, but everything else is done. So one coop is winterfied. Still have a couple more coops to go, but making some progress. And on the pig pen back here, we did energize the south perimeter on the fence there, which ties into the pig pen. And I had 3 energizers. One was a 15 or 20 mile, and then I had 2 5 miles. 5 miles is fine for what I have here, but I didn't know if any of them worked. The 15 or 20 mile one at one point had water dripping out of it. It was, actually, I threw it away years ago. Pulled it out and figured it'd be a rainy day project or just to see if it ever worked. So plugged it in and it actually worked, but it wasn't super hot. So we tried one of the 5 miles and it did okay, it worked. And then the other one had also been through another natural disaster and had water all in it. And surprisingly, that one worked as well. So that was great. And one of those 5 miles did pop really good. So that's what I'm going to use for the perimeter fence pig pen here. It was hitting at, I think it was 7.5. It was pretty hot. Back when I was keeping cows in electric fence, 2.5 held the cows in just fine. Anything lower, they just go through it. So 7's hot, so that's good. That should have no problem keeping the pigs in, but just temporarily hooked it up to the post over here. Where's the post? There it is. And I still have yet to trench in a line because I would like to keep that in the barn. For now, I could just run extension cords and hook it up. There's not too much rain in the forecast. It would work for temporary, but it is something that I need to get done. But that is one of the final things before the pigs come. It's crazy to think that they're going to be here Saturday, so that's really cool. I've also got a few radishes starting to come up. You can see them just now starting to sprout. So getting a few of those in. Want to have those for the farmer's market, so it's just a tiny little tub of those. Also, I forgot to mention, when we were working on that coop earlier, we just had an onslaught of these ladybugs. These technically aren't the ladybugs, these are the bitey bugs. This is just one tiny little strip. I kid you not, this was covered. It was a crazy hatch, so we just closed everything up, and the barn was just pelted with these things. And they were all over us, and it was gross, so it wasn't much fun. But luckily it didn't last too long, and they've let up now. I still see a few flying and crawling around, but man, they were everywhere. I also did clean these out, and I put them in the garden. It was just the chick tubs, so I've got that done. It's a little extra fertilizer, which is always a good thing. I wound up some hoses, and currently I'm working in the garden, just picking up the garden basically. At least getting the first row done. I have all the red tomatoes out at this point, so I'm gonna cut the plants down, throw them off to the side. I'm gonna cut these straw bales loose, just shake them out over the garden, get the T-posts out of here, get the wire up, start rolling up this weed cloth. And I am going to go ahead and keep the Brussels sprouts there on the end, and they're actually doing really good, better than in the spring and summer. So I think I've learned my lesson on that. We'll definitely do them in the fall because the bugs are just horrid to work with. I think that's all the projects I've done today. I don't know, it's been a long, really productive day, which is always a great feeling. The garden is looking quite different. Just now started pulling some T-posts, ripping up some gross bales. Last year I took all this stuff out to the back pile. This year I'm just gonna leave it all in the garden. It can hang out here, it'll be good worm food. So I'm gonna finish pulling T-posts and then start getting this weed cloth up. Howdy y'all, today is October 22nd. I know earlier this week I shot a video and I could not get the lids of these beehives off, and I said I'd leave them till spring. Well, I don't take defeat easily. So it's pretty toasty today. We're gonna be almost up to 80. So I figured I'd just come out here every half hour and keep trying. And it's finally warm enough, so it's coming off really easy. So I am gonna go ahead and get in both these beehives. Actually, I haven't tried the white one yet, but I'd imagine I can get it off. So let's look at these supers. So I took the top honey super off. There wasn't much going on in it, but I am surprised to see, can y'all see it in the light? Kind of hard to see. There's a few cells in there that they're actually putting some nectar in there, which is pretty crazy. So it's not enough to leave this on. I did see one small hive beetle in there, and when you have too much space in a tiny colony, because they do shrink down in the wintertime, it gives places for pests like the small hive beetle more places to hide. They could be hiding all on the top super, and the bees are all down below clustered somewhere else. So just to minimize that, help the bees be able to get any pests out of there, I'm going to make it a little smaller for them. But I'll leave this out so they can get all the nectar that they just started putting in here in. The second honey super here does have some honey packed in the middle, but the edges are pretty bare. I guess I'll go ahead and leave it on there. I might go ahead and start feeding some sugar water. It's gonna be really nice weather-wise for several weeks, so might as well as help them out. Here's another frame from that super. You can see that they were starting to cap a little honey, but there is a small hive beetle in there hiding, so I'm gonna squish that thing real quick. So I quickly looked in the last honey super. I popped out 2 frames. One didn't have anything on it, so I pulled it, and from the top super I put one that had some nectar and just a tiny bit of capped honey. I put it in there. I did see some small hive beetles in there, a little more than I'd like, so I'll probably put a trap in there just to make sure everything's good. But getting off one empty box is really already going to help that colony out a lot, just because they have less space that they have to guard and keep up. So one super's gone. It was starting to get crazy already. Just having one beehive open for a couple minutes this time of year is pretty sketchy. You don't really like doing that. I don't really like doing that because resources are scarce, and if the bees smell some honey or anything that they can use, they're gonna go straight for it, and it can induce robbing. So that hive right next to it can smell it, come over and start trying to clean out my other colony. So anyways, I have the one super I pulled really far away, and I can't believe the amount of bees that are all over it at the moment. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that hive that I did have open to make sure nothing happens. It was really quick, but still, you never know. So anyways, they looked good. Other than that, the hive's decently heavy. Since it is pretty nice out, I think I will go ahead and do some sugar water just somewhere far away from them. So once again, we don't get that robbing going on. So you can see there's some blanks. The bees really aren't interested in that at all. But there's a couple areas that had just a little bit of honey or nectar in there, and the bees are really going after that. Most were pretty empty. There's just a little in each one, and the bees are definitely cleaning it up. I think the majority of the bees here are from the hive that it originally came from, but I have seen just a little bit of fighting going on. So I'd imagine probably some of the other hive has already found it. It was just going really quick today. There's a lot of bees, and then I got frames on the other side as well. You can kind of see in there, but the bees can get a little bit of good from that. That's kind of what a lot of the frames look like. Not much going on. You can see there's some fighting going on. So it's probably already between two colonies. That's why I'm keeping this far away from the two hives. I'm gonna leave the super there until the end of the day and then pick it up and be done with it. Since there are a lot of bees flying around right now, as a little extra precaution, I did shrink down that entrance. You can see there's a little bit of fighting going on. Probably from the other colony, coming over thinking they're gonna get lucky. So with a smaller entrance there, this colony won't have a hard time defending itself, or at least a little easier time. So I will be keeping an eye on them pretty hard, because as you can see, there's a lot of balling up going on. I might shrink it down even more. But yeah, literally everything tries to get in for food this time of year. I just smashed a yellow jacket too, so kind of crazy. I went ahead and closed off the other hive as well. They actually had two entrances. They had one on the front here, and then another one up top. It's kind of awkward, but I went ahead and closed that one off. So as you can see, there are a lot of bees flying around right now. A lot trying to get in and out, but there's no fighting going on. It's just right now a very crowded entrance, so I think everybody's trying to come out or go in. The bees are flying around kind of like an orientation flight. Typically, if this was a robbing thing, you'd see bees trying to get in everywhere. Currently, it's just the front, so I'm really glad that I closed that down and let these bees chill out, because there's a lot of bees going on right now. But I did not open this hive at all. So this hive might just be getting keyed up because they smell the other hive. I don't really know what's going on, but there's a lot of bees going on. Not as much activity going on over here now, which is good, but as you can see, we are getting just a little bit of fighting going on. We have some dead bees that didn't win the fight from the other hive or someone's hive. So it's relaxing a little bit. Hoping I didn't open up a can of worms, but I have those entrances shrunk down to the maximum, so we're just gonna hope that these guys can make it through it. I'm gonna chill out here for a little while before I take off to the farm, just to make sure the hives settle down a bit. I probably won't do that again. Just I'll leave it whatever it is, and I don't know, it's such a toss-up. I really needed to do this a month ago, but I've just been extremely busy. So at least I got some empty space out of there. I killed some small hive beetles, so it will help that one colony in the long run. But the trade-off is I might have just opened up a can of worms to some robbing, which could wipe out the colony just as easily too. So we'll see what happens. Hope for the best. But I'm gonna watch them for another hour or so, make sure things calm down, and then we'll take off to the farm. I also think that one hive might be a little crazy because I did close it off, and some of the bees might not be used to using that odd entrance, so that might be why there's a bit of a traffic jam there too. I am happy to report that the hives have returned to normal. That white hive, there's still some bees that are a bit confused about the entrance because they've always had 2 entrances, and I closed off the larger one, so some of them probably just aren't used to using the one smaller one. So there's still some bees trying to figure that out. But other than that, there's no more fighting, scuffling. The fighting was pretty minimal. I think catching that just as fast as I did, I knew it was a risk, and I got those shut down pretty quickly, the entrances, so that feels good. I think also having an empty super over there with a little bit of interest kind of helped the bees fly over that way versus the other hive. So I think I got really lucky on that. I will not do that again, but I feel better having that super off because I did see those beetles in there. So now that colony has less area that they have to try and defend against pests and everything. So anyways, I'm glad to have that done. Out at the farm now, everything is pretty crispy out here. Leaves are starting to fall, grass is kind of drying up. I think we're supposed to be getting some rain Friday. There's about a 50% chance, so that'd be nice if we get it. I was just out here looking at this little tree here. It's a rain tree. I had a friend swing by and want to plant a tree, so they did that, which is super neat. So I'm excited for that one. Rain trees are really pretty. So hopefully it gets a good start. It's looking a little crispy right now. I might go ahead and give it a little bit of water. It's a little breezy to want to do any sort of plasticking. Might just blow off and be a pain to work with, but I can go ahead and do a little bit of work on this coop out here. It just needs more wood than the door cut out and some minor other things until I can throw chickens in there. Waiting on the last of the chickens to go up. It looks like there's maybe 3 or 4 still hanging out. Got some stuff done today, which is always nice. Got this coop all plasticed up. I put the smaller roost bar in there, but I'm gonna need to make a bigger one or another small one just to fit them all. And there's no nesting boxes in this one, so I have an idea in mind for that. It's crazy to think that I'll be picking up pigs in 4 days. Trying to think through the design of the farm a little bit and where I want things. I really like some water out here, but if I put it on the outside, eventually cows will be out here and they're gonna use it as a scratching post. And if I put it on the inside, then the pigs are gonna get to it. So I think if I put it anywhere out here, I'm gonna have to build something around it. But it would be nice just to have a hydrant right here. It would make life a lot easier. If not here, I would probably put it up along there somewhere just to have a hydrant on this side of the farm, and then I could run a hose out. That way I don't have to worry about any animal scratching on it because it'll be outside the perimeter. But it'd also be nice to have some electricity out here if the need ever arose. And since I'm going to be trenching anyway, it'd be nice to just do water and electric at the same time. So whether it's here, there, wherever I wind up putting it, I'm not exactly certain what I want to do just yet on placement, but still thinking through some things. I have some time. There's not a lot of rain in the forecast, so I'm thinking about just running extension cord for now and temporarying the Energizer on the line, and then here in the next few days hopefully get a plan together, rent a trencher, and go with whatever I decide. Also did get a little more done in the garden, broke up some bales, spread those around. There's still some stuff growing like the kale, radishes, and Brussels sprouts, so I'm not going to tear any of that up. But just kind of picking up the tomato stuff, pepper stuff, things like that. Howdy out, today is October 23rd. Doing the final chicken coop here, the one with the chicks. Getting all the plastic off and going to re-plastic it. And a huge thank you to a friend who donated this massive roll of plastic. It's going to do, it looks like all the chicken coops this winter, which is super nice. Thank you. We've got all the plastic up. It looks a lot better. No more holes or water leaking through the roof, so that's all good there. I'm about to start on chores here and get the chickens done. Howdy y'all, today is October 24th. Ran around a little bit this morning. I went to Tractor Supply, kind of looking for some loose rotational fencing supplies because I do want to move the pigs down the pasture. The grass really isn't going to be growing much more this year, but I would kind of like to partition it off just a little bit. So the only thing I really needed was handles. Personally, I absolutely hate these handles. They're really cheap and they break easy, but I don't know, they'll work for what I need them at this point. So I can string up a little bit there. Also, I went to the feed barn after that and I picked up some more chick feed because the chicks were out. But I also asked them about pig food because I briefly asked them, I don't know, a month or so ago. And they said they only did bulk, which I assumed was on the truck with the grain bin and everything. But I guess that's not the case. So they do have a 500 pound minimum, which is fine. That's perfect. And they can do it in bags. So they only grind certain days of the week. Considering the pigs are going to be here in a couple days, I didn't bother with that because I wouldn't have enough time. So I picked up a couple bags of chick feed to hold the pigs over. The protein and fat content is pretty similar anyways. It's just the small things like vitamins and minerals. So on Monday, I'll call the mill, have them grind the pig feed, and then I'll pick it up sometime next week. But other than that, it's all set, and I'm pretty excited. Still working on a few things today, just some final touches before the pigs come. I am going to make a tiny little enclosure here with some chicken wire for the first day, maybe. Keep them just in a really tight area because they're going to be a little spooked and shocked at a complete life change coming here. So I don't want them to just, like I said, I think last week, run straight through that wire or get zapped and freak out more. So just kind of lull them into this space a little bit. We did test out the rainwater. We just used a 5-gallon bucket, how it would work in the trough, and it was kind of overshooting it. I think we were just putting a lot of water on there. A light rain probably wouldn't have been bad, but we went ahead and just took a board and dented in between there, so that works just fine. Currently I'm working on sectioning this off here, and I'm not a huge fan of hooking up this handle to the smaller wire here. It just kind of pulls it a bit too much. I probably should have just went ahead and ran the thicker wire, but it still works. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a little insulator and hook it to that instead. Howdy y'all, today is October 25th. It is the eve of the pigs' arrival. I'm super excited for tomorrow. Everything's all set up. We've got the fence done. We did another lap on weed eating and mowing just around the fence to make sure everything's popping real hot. Just have to plug the fence in, add the pigs, and we're good to go. I don't know if I mentioned this yesterday, but my dad made a nice little trough feeder here. Because all I had were the 2 tiny little things in there, which works because they are going to be tiny. This might be too big for them yet, I'm not sure, but once they get bigger, they'll be able to get around that easier, so there's no fighting. And same with the water, they're probably going to be a little too small to use that. We'll see how it all works out, but I'm super excited for tomorrow and grabbing the pigs. I had some folks just stop by, drop off a tree, which I'm about to get planted. This hat right here, which is really cool. And they also picked up some bread, so thank you guys for everything. Before it gets any later, I do want to get that tree planted today. And then look forward to tomorrow. Unfortunately, how I do the YouTube videos, I do it from Saturday to Friday, so you get a full 7 days, which means you won't see the pigs until next week's video, but I won't leave you hanging. Here's a sneak peek. So the tree they gave me was a rain tree. It's actually pretty good size. You can see stem goes a pretty long way. So I'm just gonna plant it somewhere out here in the tall grass, probably right here. And we'll give it a good water and hope it makes it. Tree has been planted. I'm going to wash some eggs, do some things, and get ready for customers in the morning. And that pretty much wraps up this week's video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.